Going to work or live in a new country or any cross-cultural environment sounds like an exciting journey. However, challenge might also be part of the equation. So how ready are you? Hi, this is Betty. Welcome to join the webinar on Building Modern Cross-Cultural Competence in 21st Century. Cross-cultural communication is not a new topic. As a matter of fact, there are existing very old models and theories on explaining cultural differences of countries and societies from all over the world. However, just when you thought you have prepared yourself well enough for studying and memorizing the complex cross-cultural theories, models, and categorization of the culture of the world, such as high context, low context culture, direct, indirect culture, so on and so forth, the actual cross-cultural journey which you enter into might still show you another quite different story, which those abstract models, theories just aren't enough to explain to you what's happening around and specifically what you should do. And the reality quite likely turns out is that the interaction, communication, and collaboration with your counterparts from different cultural backgrounds are still facing a lot of confusion and frustration, which you still haven't found useful direction and guidebook to refer to. So something missing in those abstract cross-cultural theories and models, or something has changed since those cross-cultural theories or models have been developed since a very long time ago. Well, I believe by the end of today's webinar, you will have some answers by yourself. So today we're going to cover 4 different topics. First of all, we will take a look at the definition. So what is a cross-cultural communication activity we talk about when we use this term? And second, we will take a look at how do people's different societal and national culture backgrounds bring challenge to people's cross-cultural communication activities. And also, we will have some examples. In the third topic, we will take a look at how do people's different native language backgrounds could bring challenge to people's cross-cultural communication activities, and also with some examples. Last but not least, we're going to talk about how we're going to do with those challenges. First, let's take a look at what we're talking about cross-cultural communication activity when we're talking about cross-cultural communication. As a matter of fact, cross-cultural communication is a term which has a very broad connotation and could cover a wide range of topics. Literally speaking, any forms of communication activities happen between two persons or more than two persons from different cultural backgrounds could be categorized and considered as cross-cultural communication. Today, we're only going to cover one among many kinds. That is a kind of interpersonal communication happen between two or more than two persons who are from different countries, societies, solely using verbal or written language. And there are 2 key important features of this cross-cultural interpersonal communication activity. First, people who are participating in this interpersonal communication activities are coming from different countries or societies. And second, people are coming from different native language backgrounds, regardless whether they share or do not share a same language. For example, when a native born and grown up Chinese person communicates with other English language speakers who are not from or living in China, it does not matter whether this Chinese person speaks English or not. His or her communication with other English language speakers will be considered as cross-cultural communication. Okay, with this definition in mind, let's take a look at how do people's different societal or national culture background can bring challenge to people's cross-cultural communication activities, and also with some examples. Well, in summary, what could happen is when people from different societies or countries, people don't always share certain knowledge, perceptions, values, mindsets, and that could lead to many different understandings and misunderstanding towards same topics, and also varied barriers in communicating and collaborating with each other. For example, when person A and person B from two different countries, and there could be two very challenging situations happen when they interact with each other. First, person A has certain knowledge, but person B does not have. And second, person A and person B have different understanding about same knowledge. Let's take a look at some examples. So, cross-cultural communication activities happens in cross-cultural business, professional, and work contexts can be a little bit more complicated to elaborate here due to the limited time. But if you join our training program in the coming days, you will learn varied case studies which show you how the cross-cultural communication activities look alike and how the failures happens in cross-cultural business, professional, and work context. Today, we will take a look at some simple examples from the context of daily life. So let's take a look at this picture. Let's say person A is from China. It is almost impossible that he has no knowledge about what he's looking at and what's the name of the food he's looking at. Because this is a traditional food that Chinese use to celebrate a traditional Chinese festival called Dragon Boat Festival. And the Chinese name of that food is zongzi. And let's say person B is from outside China and has never been to China. Then it will be very common that he doesn't have any knowledge about what he's looking at, not mention the name of that food he's looking at. So imagine if person A does not provide any knowledge about this food, but directly ask person B a question that, do you like to have this for breakfast? Or do you like 粽子 for breakfast? How lost the person B can be. So this is a simple example to show you the nature communication barrier if people from different culture backgrounds, like societies or countries, and do not share a certain knowledge. Here we will especially take a closer look at how people's second language capacity or any foreign language capacity can be influenced by people's native language background. And the influence usually demonstrate in three ways. First of all, pronunciation. So people from different native language backgrounds often speak certain foreign language with certain accent, and that is exactly often the result of the influence of people's native language background. And second, people communicate same meaning but using different words. And third, people communicate different meanings but end with using same words. And in cross-cultural communication activities, if people fail to aware of and manage Rose influence could easily cause misunderstandings and miscommunication among people. Let's take a look at some simple examples. First, let's take a look at American English and British English. So, most people are aware there are pronunciation differences between American English and British English. However, the differences between these two kinds of English go far beyond than that. For example, American and British people use different words to communicate the same meaning. Check these following vocabularies. And also, they use same words to communicate different meanings. Check this word, pant. In British English and American English means very different things. Now imagine an American speaks to his British friend that, wow, your mom has a nice pants. How do you think the British will understand what the Americans say? Well, very likely the British will not discover there is miscommunication or misunderstanding, but feels offensive and believe his American friend is very rude. And this is an example of how people could miscommunicate and misunderstand with each other because people use the same words to communicate different meanings. And now, let me ask you this. How many of those words and expressions in English language are there, like this word pant? And the answer is simple but complicated. That is, nobody knows. And among all different kinds of cross-cultural communication challenges, This is probably one of the most risky and dangerous type because people usually would intuitively interpret the other side as offensive, rude, rather than miscommunication or misunderstanding. Last but not least, I would like to give you a special example which demonstrates how the second or foreign language speaker using words from the second or foreign language to create an expression which native language speakers could not understand at all. Check the two photos on this page. They're both menus from the restaurants. So the Chinese translation on the right side and the English translation on the left side do not make sense to the native Chinese speakers as well as English language speakers. Now, with the introduction above, I hope you already have some general understandings about the common challenges that people's native culture and native language backgrounds could bring to cross-cultural communication activities. And what needs to be especially noted here is these kinds of challenges won't naturally disappear or be managed if people just aware their existence because they are more than just accidents or unintentional language errors or misunderstandings. As a matter of fact, these challenges reflect a certain way of, as human being, how our nature mindset and language capacity being built and shaped by our surrounding external environment. And the only way to face and manage this challenge is to add a new system of mindset and communication skill, which by the moment might still be beyond your recognition. And due to the time constraint, we will have a further and more detailed introduction in our coming training.